Hi, we're here to do an installation on the new Roll-X tonneau cover by BAK Industries on a Chevy Silverado. Now, to get the installation correct, it's very simple, and the key is being able to get the rail clamped onto the pickup bed so that it is nice and square and perpendicular to the bedside and to the truck. And here's the key to how to get it correct. On the General Motors trucks, Chevys, GMCs, and even the 2002 to 2008 Dodge Ram trucks, they come with a painted bed rail. There's no bed cap protector whatsoever. Now, as the rail comes across horizontally, it bends down towards the bed, and it has an indentation in the lower section of the rail. Now, to be able to clamp the Roll-X rail on square and perpendicular, you need to fill in this indentation. And so BAK Industries includes a set of small shims that are intended to get the angle of the rail correct. These shims go in this indentation area level with the bottom edge of the rail so that there's a nice square edge to clamp to. Now let me show you another shim. This shim is made to simulate a bed cap protector. In fact, it is a piece of bed cap protector material. Now, if this truck had a bed cap protector on, I would throw this away, whether it was a stick-on or whether it was a Line-X. This shim is made to simulate a bed cap protector in the event there's not one in the place. So because this is a painted rail, I'm going to need to install this shim onto the Roll-X rail. It very simply goes in place on the rail. Apply it down with the 3M tape. That will add the thickness of the bed cap material protector. I've got the angle shims already in the indentation area of the rail. I've put it where the clamp is going to go, 10 inches from the tailgate, 10 inches from the bulkhead, and then one in the center, and then a fourth one in the indentation near the end. Just making sure that there's a nice square surface to clamp to. The rail is going to go in place and clamp in. Come closer and I'll show you how it clamps properly. Alright, so since the Chevy has a painted rail and does not have a bed cap protector, this bed cap protector shim is going to be applied to the Roll-X rail to simulate as if a bed cap protector is there. Now when we install this, that is going to make sure that the rail comes close enough together that the locking mechanism engages the cover properly. So you want to make sure that this is properly shimmed. Proper shim work is the key to a proper installation. Now the actuator that rotates this locking assembly should be positioned 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch off the edge of your tailgate or the bed cap protector on your tailgate. Now if you have a drop-in plastic bed liner or a bed liner that is creating an interference, this actuator needs to be able to rotate to lock the cover properly. So you need to make sure that if there's any clearance here that needs to be made, that you provide for that. Some of the drop-in plastic bed liners, you may want to notch that corner in this location so that that lock actuator is functioning properly. Again, the key being that this should be 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch off the edge of your tailgate the way you see here. Now, in addition, you want to make sure that the clamp goes on properly. Now, this is a cross-section of the bed rail of your truck. Comes up the side, comes across the horizontal surface, drops down towards the floor of the bed, and as it does so, that indentation, you're going to have that shim stock in there that's going to make a nice flat surface to clamp to. But a lot of trucks have a flared over flange at the bottom edge of that sheet metal. And this is going to be important when you're putting the clamp on. What's going to happen is you want the clamp to clear that flange so the jaws of the teeth are on this nice flat surface. If the jaws of the clamp end up on that surface, it's going to kick the clamp over and it's going to prevent the rail from bolting on square. So make sure when you're clamping that the jaws of the tooth are clearing that flange and that you're clamping those flat surfaces so the rail goes on square. Now on the Chevy, it's about 10 inches from the tailgate. You're going to open the jaws of the clamp. You're going to insert it as far up in the opening as possible, as close to the tailgate as it will get. And then just when the clamp starts to clamp, you want to put a little downforce on it. Maybe give it a little pop there. And then 1, 2, 3/4 of a turn should be plenty to tighten that clamp sufficiently. Then you're going to do the same at the middle. Loosen the clamp enough to get it in there. Make sure the jaws of the teeth clear that little flange that's in that back side that I was showing you in the diagram. Make sure that the two clamp halves are joined in the socket at the bottom, at the hinge the way they're supposed to. 1, 2, 3. Alright, looks good. We'll finish off the front one. We'll be ready to install the cover. If you have a drop-in bed liner, it's going to raise this surface. But if you don't have a drop-in bed liner, you're going to want to make sure that the cover is sealed at the front properly. There's a long bulkhead seal that's included in the package, and it applies right under the top of the pickup bed rail where the flap seal of the Roll-X is going to come in contact. So make sure you get the front sealed properly. You don't want any water getting in through the front. Okay, now that you've got the rails mounted properly, and by the way, take notice that your stake pocket holes are left wide open, so when you want to mount other accessories, there's a provision and a position for you to do so. So the cover is going to come up on the rails and sit in the opening. The black Teflon blocks are going to sit just inside the rail opening that's part of the rail. And the front of the cover has a slotted extrusion, and the head of the bolt is going to go right into that extrusion, and then it drops down in place into the slotted hole that's part of the Roll-X rail. So here's the stud coming through the slotted bracket. The first uses the rubber washer that's going to hold it in place on that bracket. The large flat washer is next, followed by the lock washer, and then finally there's the star knob that screws on to hold it all in place. Now put it on, but leave it just a little bit loose because you're going to need to adjust the cover in the opening, and then we'll come back and we'll tighten that down the rest of the way. So we've got our rail clamped nice and square to the pickup bed. We've got the cover fastened on the studs in the front with their star knobs, but still a little bit loose. All we got to do is make sure the cover is fitting in the opening properly, that it's square between the rails, that the blocks are sitting inside the edge of the rail where it drops in on top of the rail. And as you roll it back, you want to make sure that the latch assembly is coming just inside the edge of the tailgate. You want to make sure that the bottom of the latch assembly is contacting the actuators properly. And so if you've got it square, that's a proper alignment. Now we just need to carefully roll it forward and tighten up those star knobs in the front, and we are ready to enjoy our Roll-X tonneau cover on our Chevy truck.